I'd like to demo the total return chart tool that's on the MFO premium site. To do that, I've pulled up Multisearch, which is the site's main search tool, and I've asked for all funds in the Dodge & Cox family. Dodge & Cox is a well-established firm here in California. Here is the results table. You can see 7 funds, and it shows the summary information, which is the default mode for multi-search. That information includes things like fund category, assets under management, expense ratio. But it also includes risk and performance metrics for the display period indicated. I asked for year-to-date. We just dropped the month ending November data. Today is December 3rd. I'll sort here on return, and it looks like the global stock fund leads the pack at about 14%, and even the income fund has returned a small return, which is a welcome sight after last year's difficult time for fixed income with rising rates. To get the chart, you go to the Analyze button, and there's a pull-down menu, and you just simply click on the chart button. The chart tool can handle up to 12 funds. There are only 7 in this table, and so it'll plot all 7. If there were more than 12, you can select which ones you want and go from there, just plot those. But we'll do the 7. And regardless of the display period that you have in multi-search, the chart itself will default to 3 years, 3-year period. So you have return on the y-axis and calendar on the x-axis. You can change that period several ways, either through the dial on your mouse if you use a mouse, or through this zoom bar. Here's a 5-year period and a 10-year period as examples. The y-axis here is relative to the initial value or initial month for the plot being displayed. So from left to right, it's 0 at first, and then as you go to the right, hopefully your funds increase in value, and that's the percentage that's reflected on the y-axis, as well as this handy tip tool that you see kind of highlighted with the digital format. So let me go back to the 3-year view here. And so over the last 3 years, you can see the various return values for the funds. The younger fund, that's not quite 3 years old, that's the emerging markets fund in this case. The value that's depicted is from basically the launch date of that fund, or the launch month of that fund. There's also a navigation bar down here that you can kind of play with to change, the display period you're looking at or you're interested in, and you can, go all the way to the left or pull from the right if you want to kind of capture an inter-year period. You can also enter different dates up here in this tool in the upper right-hand corner. And with the plot itself, I'll just jump to this pretty quick. You have the ability to print the chart, view full screen, download images, even download the data that's used to make up the chart itself. Other features, there's a note down at the bottom that talks about how many funds are in the chart, the youngest and the oldest, or at least back to the beginning of our database, which is 1960. I think the Balanced Fund actually goes back to the Depression. It's one of the oldest funds in the US. The relative mode is the one we've talked about. That's the default mode for the plot. But you can go to the so-called absolute mode, and I'll up the display period. And what's shown here are then multiples from an initial investment. Since the launch of the fund itself, or again, at least back to the 1960, the beginning of our database. So these are enormous multiples for people that have been able to invest in the last, several decades in some of these long-standing funds. The other cool feature of the plot is the ability to go from linear scale to log scale. It's a base 10 log scale. And that's particularly helpful for a long view, for all the data in this case, because the slope of the log view is indicative of the annualized return of the fund. And so you can see those are pretty healthy annualized returns for both the stock fund and even the balance fund, over the long term. So this is quite helpful. I find it quite helpful. You can, a couple other things, you can move the legend to the right hand side or the left hand side, or you could hide that little summary note that's on the bottom. To do a new chart, you just click new and it punches up the tickers that are in the current chart, and you can add other ones. Let's add, say, SPY, and that's a way then. This is an entirely new chart. Yeah, let's default to 3 years, and we see that over the last 3 years anyway, the Dodge and Cox funds, a couple of them have done better than SPY. Over the last 5 years, not the case, as is typical of index funds these days, especially in the US. It's been hard to beat pure beta. Same with 10 years. 10 years SPY has just been a winner. Let's see. Yes, you can also get new charts, not through multi-search per se, but just by going into the chart pull down on the from the main menu of MFO Premium. And lastly, I'll say that from the chart tool itself, you can run other analysis tools like rolling averages, trend, Ferguson metrics, etc., calendar year or fixed period performance, right from the return tool. And you can do this on most tools on the site. You don't have to go through multi-search. We really like this plotting tool, and our license is with High Charts, I believe, and we hope to soon be having a chart that does not just total return, but total net assets, so investors can have insight into fund flows through the years, and so we're pretty excited about that. I hope you found this demo useful, and if you see anything amiss or have any other questions, please drop me a line.